Good afternoon, everybody. My first name is GW. My last name is actually Chew. It's actually spelled Chew. So that's the coolest chef name on the planet. I go by Chef Chew, and as I like to say, as I always say, going to give you something to chew on. And so it's a beautiful thing. And what's cool about me is I actually was adopted at birth. Crazy fun fact: I just met my adopted father's family, which was pretty awesome. But that was amazing. Thanks for the heart. I see you. But that was amazing. But I was adopted to a family that had this last name Chu, and I ended up becoming a chef. And so I literally grew up. You can turn to the next slide. And before you go there, actually, before you turn, this is actually a picture of the food that I love. This is I'm getting feedback. I'm not sure where that's coming from. This is actually a picture of my family, my two children, enjoying literally a plant-based dinner, which is so special to me. It's nothing like feeding your kids a traditional ethnic type of meal that I grew up on. I grew up in the South, and now they're eating it all 100% plant-based, and they're enjoying it, which I think is what we're trying to accomplish here as you all as food directors. But you can go to the next slide. Again, I grew up in the South, and so I grew up eating everything. I mean, my story, my father was literally a country boy who grew up shooting squirrels. I was 10 years eating possum, so again, grew up eating fried chicken and ribs and pork chops and ham and bacon and everything. All of that was my experience growing up as a kid. What was sadly, my family began to have a lot of lifestyle diseases. So I saw very early my aunts and uncles in their late 40s, early 50s begin to have life-threatening diseases, diabetes, heart disease, cancer. And for us, it was a way of life. We loved to eat, we love good food, and it was almost expected that we would die from some type of disease. It was like heart disease, diabetes. It just runs in the family. You just kind of expected it. Most of my family members were pretty much obese. A lot of them had weight issues. And so this was kind of normal, which it should not be normal, but it was kind of considered normal. And so I saw, again, family members that I love dearly. My aunt, for example, who kind of raised me, she died at like 51 years old. And seeing uncles who died in their mid 50s. And again, lifestyle diseases based on largely of how we ate. And what I found is that it really increases in especially minority communities, Black and brown communities, typically have the highest rates of disease and the least amount of access. So I saw also this connection between communities that have food deserts, where you pretty much don't have, grocery stores or fresh produce. And so things of that nature, those communities, have the least amount of access to healthy food options. You might not, like I sell my product to Whole Foods, but the reality is Whole Foods aren't in all communities. Some of those natural food stores, some of those more high quality of stores are not in all communities. And so people sometimes don't have access to these type of products. And as a result, statistics show that they also have higher rates of disease. And so I became a vegan and a plant-based chef. I became a vegan first literally in 2001. So before it was popular, I was literally ostracized by my family. They called me every name in the book. So you can imagine coming to Thanksgiving dinner with the vegan turkey, the tofurkey that's like this small, and the big fat turkey that my father has. He's like, "You're missing out. What are you doing?" And it's calling me every name. He's calling me a squirrel. Like, "You like the squirrel, boy. What's wrong with you? You're missing out, So I got that literally when I was 18 years old. I got called every name in the book. But for me, I internalized that I didn't want to see my family continue going through the health issues that they was going through. So that led me to want to change and create foods that they would love. And so that started my personal journey literally 20 plus years ago. You go to the next slide. And so I became a plant-based chef. And so literally when I was about 19, 20 years old, got excited about eating healthy. Since then, I've done restaurants. We manufacture. I was voted one of the top 9 Black vegan chefs in the country. Been involved in some of one group called the Plant-Based Food Association, which you may have heard of. It's actually a really cool organization that really helps promote plant-based foods. I was actually an active board member for the last 2 years, and been very involved in the natural foods industry as well. And there's not a lot of people that look like me also in the industry. So that was pretty awesome to be a part of a foods, space that I could bring diversity into, which was very much needed, especially in the plant-based and natural food space. You go to the next slide. So my products, what we do, not a sales pitch, but I will have some fun. We make our products called Better Chew. I said it looks like chicken, tastes like chicken, but guess what? It ain't chicken. Crispy on the outside and white in the middle. It's delicious. And then for me, that was really very important because I grew up eating a lot of chicken and so and different meat products, and I wanted something better, hence the name of our company. And so I literally made a life journey where it wasn't about just creating a plant-based food to make a bunch of money as a company, but it really was to save life. And that became the mission of what we were seeking to do. I looked at food as a means of really bringing health and vitality to our communities. And hence, I really wasn't, necessarily ever thinking about actually selling to school districts. It really wasn't something I actually had on my radar. You go to the next slide. But I always had a passion and an aim. Next slide, you can skip this slide. Had a passion and an aim to go to do work with kids. And so I actually did a lot of educational work in communities. I would do cooking classes and programs for children. And that became my life work. I had my first restaurant in 2008, and we would adopt kids in the community and do cooking classes with them. And so it just really, for me, this whole opportunity when it came to plant-based foods became like, wow, like, California actually giving free money to schools to help them to go plant-based. It was like, can you believe it? And for me, again, having a passion for kids and having a passion for healthy eating, it was just like amazing to see like the opportunity. So you go to the next slide. So in my career, I do a lot of cooking education. And one of the things I love the most, and when we talk about transformation and change and how do you get kids to get excited and introducing, one of the things that we've seen is that education. It's kind of hard to expect people to change without doing somewhat of some education with them. I found that to be very vital when it came to, I go into communities, not just kids, but adults. And sometimes we're the hardest. Honestly, sometimes even as food service, I went to the convention down in Southern California, and I did a lot of taste samples. And again, there was a lot of still hesitation from directors that were like, I don't know if I want to, try this. And so it was more, they had their, people, we as adults have our own biases. And what I found with kids, they're still exploring. They're still trying to figure out, they're still want. So what I've learned is that giving them exposure and also getting them involved in touching and feeling and experiencing healthy foods and so forth can also make a massive impact in getting them to want to transition and to eat healthy as well. And so that's been a big part of my career. And it's amazing when a kid actually has the experience to touch and make a healthy food dish. They eat it because they made it, they experienced it, they loved it. And it also helps to change in their psyche that, hey, maybe this is possible. And even though I never really ate this way, but I tasted it and it actually tastes pretty good. And I made it with my own hands. That makes a very massive difference in the child's life. You go to the next slide. So here's some other cool pictures that we had doing cooking classes with some older kids. This is some high school students that we did on the left. And we literally made vegan quesadillas with these kids. And that was like super exciting for them. And it was amazing. Like they were like, again, first time eating a plant-based cheese, and it was just like the weirdest thing for them to imagine. But when they tried it, it was like, wow, this is actually tasty, pretty amazing. Another cooking class that we did with another group of young people, another more of the little kids. And so again, one of the things I always say, educate. As you guys are bringing on plant-based options, find creative ways to educate the kids. I would love to come out if you wanted me to come do a cooking program. That's something that we do. And there's other chefs, I'm sure, around the country that, around the area that might be able to provide that. But I do know getting kids excited about eating through education and tasting, it can go a long way. Next thing that was part of my journey, I met Juan Cardone from Vacaville. You go to the next slide, if you don't mind. And he was very instrumental in introducing me to this opportunity. So one thing, there are people like myself, I'm a small food manufacturer. I sell in Whole Foods, sell to a few colleges and so forth, but I had to have a great product. And he sought me out and said, hey, there's an opportunity. So he literally, as a director, sought me out and said, hey, there's an opportunity to bring healthy food. And he introduced me to his friends, which included Christina Lawson and, Napa School District. And so he took on the responsibility, or I would say this, hey, there's some people, there's an opportunity for you. Come and bring your product. Let me see what it tastes like and so forth. And what was cool about that, like Napa, the dietitian, Megan Hupp, she actually helped me with my PFS statements. And so I learned, I didn't know much about product formulation statements. And so, again, I've been a chef for 15 plus years, a vegan chef. And I didn't know too much about the dietitian standpoint in the school districts, but I was able to really get a crash course in that. She helped me to figure out the understanding of the grain allowances and the meat alternative allowances. It's a whole new language. Didn't even know there was a USDA database and all this type of stuff. And so it was I just realized that there's other chefs like me that would love to support and love to be a part of this. And I just saw that how Juan was very instrumental, and Christina as well, who was very instrumental in helping and getting excited about what we were doing, and embraced us and challenged us to say, let's figure out some recipes that can be really cool. As a result, we figured out a mac and cheese, which I'm really, really excited about. We actually was able to formulate a recipe utilizing tofu. Tofu is a phenomenal dish. For every, I think, quarter cup of tofu is two meat alternative allowances, and I make a cheese sauce out of tofu. So there's so much things you can do with ingredients that I always call tofu a bad 4-letter word. It's kind of cool. People laugh at that, but it's amazing what that recipe and that ingredient can actually do in multiple recipes. And Juan was cool with Juan, but Vacaville and even Christina's school in West Placer, they actually I partnered with Los Tamales. They do a vegan burrito, and they use our steak product. And they make vegan burritos utilizing our products. We're partnering with other vendors and actually being able to collaborate and bringing actually prepared items to the school districts, which is really, really exciting. But lastly, I want to end with this. There's a few little short videos here. This is some of the experiences that we had at the schools. We did a taste test. Can you play that? Nora, are you able to play those? Would it sound through? I'm not sure if it will or not. If it can, I can just kind of share what happened, if that's okay. I think you're on mute, Nora.
Yeah, I was asking if the sound was coming through, but I was on mute. So let's try this again. Hold on.
Let's see what you like. Got the vegan mac and cheese? Let me know. That ain't bad, is it?
Yeah, it is like the package one.
It's like the package preview, right? Come on, man.
What do you like about it? Pretty creamy. It's good. Creamy? Tastes like cheese. It's cheesy. Yeah, it does. Pretty good.
And guess what, man? The good news is that it doesn't have it's all vegan, believe it or not.
That's pretty good.
Never had vegan cheese before, huh? Well, there you go, man. I'm glad you like it, man. Hey, we hope for something. All right, man.
All right, I'll try playing another one.
Yeah.
All right. Oh.
Hey, man, I'm over here today, man, at Glen Evers Middle School. Just doing some mac and cheese samples. I got 30 samples of mac and cheese right here. And man, we about to give the kids something to chew on. About to give them something delicious, man. So I'm really happy, really excited. Thank you for serving our kids every day.
Yes,
We appreciate your service.
And this that was with one of the actual, I guess, director at that school that actually that ran the kitchen, the lady that ran the kitchen, and it was such a beautiful thing to go in the kitchen with them, and that was really awesome at West Placer, Glen Edwards Middle School. And then lastly, we went to the elementary school that was next door, and we fed some fourth graders, and that was like the most coolest experience ever. And so we actually did like a little 5-minute talk about eating healthy, and they kind of just guessed what was in the mac and cheese, and they didn't realize it was tofu, and it was kind of cool. And this is them at the very end of everything right here. And you couldn't really hear them. She pretty much asked them, do they want to have the mac and cheese in the school, and they got really, really excited about it. It was pretty awesome. But lastly, last slide, I just end on this. At the very end, when I was leaving West Placer School District, and literally it was amazing. Christina, I literally had the recipe ready. I was like, can I come? Can I come to the school and test it? And I mean, literally, this was like a Friday or Thursday, and we literally did it like that Monday or Tuesday the next week. And so that was pretty awesome. Christina was really, willing to let me try and see what happened. And I kind of brought that experience together. But at the very end, this is like my best. I got a lot of reviews in my business, good and bad. I mean, I'll be honest. You're in the food industry, you get good and bad reviews, right? You want more good than bad. But one of the fourth graders, one of the young girls in the classroom, I still have it right on my desk. It's like, this is how important this is to me. And this is like literally over a month and a half ago, maybe. She wrote that and gave that to me. And she just literally put, love it. And when she wrote that, it was like such a small gesture, but it really was just so special. Just to see this, little girl who, never had a plant-based mac and cheese in her life. And she was like, man, this is amazing. And it was just such a special thing. And I think this is what this is all about. Kids, when you eat healthy, I became, I started eating healthy when I was like 12 years old. I started transitioning into these weird different things with my parents. They were like, why you want to eat this way? And eventually I became a vegan when I was 18. But the things what we're introducing to these kids at this age can really create lifelong habits, healthy habits. And I believe that, it starts, one of the greatest influences is obviously our school lunches and school meals. And so just know that we have a major responsibility, as I like to say, changing lives one chew at a time. So thank you all for your service. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, and this is amazing for me. I like to say my name is Chef Chew, and as I always say, gonna give you something to chew on.
Wow, what a way to end. You're getting some applause for some people. Yes, and Lucy, thank you so much. Lucy just dropped Chef Chew's. Actually, Lucy just dropped her email, and Lucy can help you connect with Chef Chew if you are interested. So just shoot Chef Chew and shoot Lucy an email, and then she will connect you with Chef Chew. Great. Christina, I don't know if you want to add anything just from your end as a director, what it's been like working with Chef Chew, or even just working with new plant-based vendors, and just anything you want to say there.
Again, like all the credit to Juan for even just introducing us to Chef Chew, and then Alicia over at Alicia's Tamales. It really has just been super easy. They're super I don't know, they're just super easy to work with. I'll work with them all day over Gold Star. So I don't know, it's just been a great experience all in all. So thank you guys. Thank you, Chef Chew. And also Chef Chew, our kids loved having him at the school sites. Our staff loved having him around. So it really was just a win-win for everybody involved. So
Great. Does anyone have any other questions? All right, nobody does. Oh, Sarah, yes.
Hey, I was just Googling Better Chew and with the word K-12 paired with it, and I don't really see anything online, like an online presence. So are we just getting in contact with you, Chef Chew, through Lucy in order to connect in that way?
Yeah, when I say this is a very new for me, I literally I'm just starting. So this is literally a new opportunity that I'm just learning about. We just got our PFS statements literally like about a month ago. So we're brand new, and we just are literally launching, really hoping to launch strong in January. But yeah, so we're next year we're going to have more materials around this, program, what we're doing. But again, it's such a new experience that we haven't been able to say, hey, there was one article that kind of announced, what we're doing, but it's still very new for us. So more will be coming, as far as that. But right now we're just trying to just start small and experiment and learn, before we kind of jump out and say we're the K through 12, company. We just want to learn, honestly, just learn and have fun, and it's work with directors and just kind of get exposure and experience right now.
Chef Chew, would you mind telling the group the products that you have available for K-12?
Yeah, absolutely. So we right now we have a shredded steak. So that's one of our flagship products, a shredded chicken and a shredded steak. Those products can literally do 1-for-1 for any kind of, Mexican taco, quesadilla, any kind of like a rice bowl or anything like that. It also goes very well with like Asian dishes, like Christina talked about doing the chow mein, things of that nature, lo mein, I should say. We also are doing a plant-based mac and cheese, which is our newest product, our newest innovation, which we're really excited about. I'm working with Lucy right now. Lucy challenged me to create a ground beef crumble, and Lucy, I have the recipe and a meatball, and I will be sharing that with you soon. So we'll be actually bringing that. And what's cool about our products, lastly, is that it's pretty much a 1-for-1. So for 2 ounces of protein, it's 2 ounces of meat alternative allowance. And so it's kind of a 1-to-1. 2 ounces is 2 ounces of meat alternative allowance, and our mac and cheese is 2 ounces of for every one serving. It's also 2 ounces of meat alternative and 1 ounce of grain allowance as well. And so, we've been able to really kind of get to the PFS, make sure it kind of meets the necessary qualifications and stuff. So, we have a chicken nugget, but we do fry it. So that's something that we're hoping to transition to more of a baked option and things of that nature. But we do have that's our best seller in Whole Foods, believe it or not. But it is fried. We do a par fry on it. So we're working on some formulations on where it's not fried, like not a fried product. So, yeah.
Could you also talk about the rib, please?
Oh, yes. We have a rib. Looks like a rib, tastes like a rib, but guess what? It's not a rib, right? It's a very meaty like texture. What's interesting about our texture is that most of the products in the space use a kind of like a vertical, like extruded type of process. We kind of have a horizontal kind of layered texture. So it really has a meat form like a true meat. So you can really replicate it and utilize it for a lot of plant-based dishes. And so the rib is really awesome, especially more right for the high school kids might be more, for that age group. But it's very meaty, very meat-like a rib sub, or even like a standalone product. Like a rib, kind of this. As a rib, it can be standalone like that as well. So some cool innovation that we've been able to do and been very successful in market. We're in Whole Foods and a number of grocery stores and restaurants. And so been able to really do well, in the market. So this is new. And like I said, we're just here to have fun and learn and just see what the future holds.
When Chef Chu had us tasting the rib, just so you all know, he presented it in a hoagie roll as kind of a rib sandwich with a barbecue sauce, and it was absolutely delicious. And I thought of how much the high school kids would love something like that, middle school, high school kids. So that's why I asked him to talk about the rib.
Well, thanks, Chef Chu. I guess just my last question for you, Chef Chu, is like any final words of advice for any school districts that are considering working with small vendors like yourself?
Yeah, what I would say, it's such an amazing, the impact that you all have in helping small businesses you can't put a price on it. To kind of give you an example, I got my first POs from Vacaville, from West Placer and Napa. That allowed me, it opened up an opportunity for when I went to a bank. They literally was like, yo, like this is coming together. And I was able to get, it helped. I was applying for almost $900,000, close to $1 million in financing for equipment. And it kind of was the thing that took me over the threshold. And so just understand that when you give a purchase order to a small company, it's significant, the impact that it gives to a small business. And I'm a minority business. And so it was just amazing when a small company, normally, the big companies in our space, a lot of times are talking about going into school districts. But when a small company can get an opportunity, it's a life-altering experience for companies like us. So I just want to say, like, adopt a company in your community. You're changing the trajectory of that company when you actually give them a shot. And give them feedback. It's like, we want to learn. Now, sometimes, you might not hit the home run the first time, but, Lucy was like, try this out, think about this. And so there's a level of coaching. Juan and Christina has a lot of questions that I had, and they both were literally, I can call Juan right now or call Christina right now. And they took the time, like, what do you think about this? What about this? And how do I do this? And it was like, they actually invested into me. And I think that was just like very, very emotional, like on a personal level that they would do that. And then as a business, it just really, again, it gives us credibility as we get, a contract with the school, like a school district. It's not a light thing when that happens for a small company. So just know that you can really make an impact in small companies' futures by you actually just supporting us and giving us a shot.